Ritchie, man, what's going on?
Hey, I'm good, Luke. How are you?
Good to see you, bro. Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy New Year to you. We're doing an early start.
I know.
2nd of January.
Good, man. Let's get kicking early, bro.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about
Oh, I
today.
know. This is going to be a good one, man. I'm pumped for this brand New Year's. Anyone who wants to know, I'm wearing blue blocker glasses to protect
Yeah.
from fucking blue light. Richie and I were just saying maybe someday we'll get a link in the description if you guys want to get a pair. We'll if anyone knows about that kind of stuff, you hit me up. Maybe we'll get it going.
We'll post that out.
We'll post that. We'll post that into the universe. Okay, so yeah, man, we got kind of interesting topics and stuff today because I had was because on YouTube, like it gives you like recommendations and stuff of things to watch at times, like other videos just pop up you might be interested in. And so from time to time, different, because I like to watch RSD. We both watch
Yeah.
RSD. We're big fans of Tyler and Julian and the whole crew. And so from time to time, other vids will pop up. And I did notice, like, say a month ago, randomly a vid popped up from a guy who was an instructor there, like an ex RSD instructor, or he had been like a video editor or whatever. I think his name was Mark or something. I was almost going to send you that vid. And honestly, it was really insightful. He just spoke a lot about how like his time there, and he had some really like nuanced, kind of like insightful points about his time there. And I was watching him, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like it was just so interesting to hear his perspective, and like even like he did have some criticisms, but they were really like valid, and like they were really like nuanced, like constructive points that he had that I was like, oh, okay, that's a good point. Like, yeah, I could see that. And it just was, I just thought it was really valuable. And he didn't at all hate on them. There was no hate. There was no negativity. There was nothing toxic about it. It just all felt like a guy who spent time with that company, had got a lot from it, given a lot to it, and now he was just moving on to something else.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Cool. And then randomly, so I kind of like subscribed to his channel. I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. I'll keep an eye on what he's doing. He's kind of starting his own sort of coaching business, or I think he was getting into copywriting and stuff. And so randomly, he posted a video and he was like, oh, I deleted all those videos about RSD. And I was like, the fuck? And he's like, yeah, I deleted them all because some other guy had been like repurposing them and posting them as like all kinds of like RSD exposed and all this type of shit. And I was like, what the fuck is this kind of negative shit? And I didn't know who this guy he was talking about was. And I was like, this is fucking weird. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. Even in the moment, I thought, fuck, this is so sad that there's guys out there who are like repackaging videos to hate on RSD and stuff. This is weird. And that's when randomly I then came across this vid that I sent you. So why don't you tell me what you thought when I sent you that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing about it is, if you look at the last 5 years, even if you just look at RSD alone, they've totally switched that company around.
Yeah.
Right. Most guys that were already in game have switched their mindsets and the way that they go about it around. And what I mean by that is I don't mean their internal mindset. I just mean they've accepted what society's accepted.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, so let me try and explain that. So you still go out, you be who you are, you do what you want, but you have to look at the way that the legal proceedings are going to go about, the way that the government thinks, because you've got to remember, this isn't a mainstream activity.
Right.
And it's still not.
Right.
And what happened is, like, from when I started to now, it's became more mainstream. I'm not saying it's mainstream, but it's became more mainstream. And I don't know what it's like over in Canada, but I can tell you about the UK and particularly Scotland, that even the government was talking about game. Because there's been a few instances here that some girls have felt very, very harassed, and for right or wrong, like they've maybe took it the wrong way, and so like what's happened is they're feeling harassed when a normal girl wouldn't. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it could be on them. So that's particularly happened.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, even if that is the feeling,
Mm.
like the government's always going to favour the women.
Oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Especially in your country, my country.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So like the way that I've not been going about much lately because of more of the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But let's even take 2 years ago. The way that I was going about was totally different from 5 years ago.
I hear you.
Now, I'll just touch on that though. So I've got better from 2015 to 2018. I've got so much better.
Mm.
So this was 3 years ago. I was a lot better than the 3 years previously. So I didn't have to put as much effort into it. So I was lucky in that regard.
Mm.
But even if I was just starting, I would have had to start it a different way, because back in 2015 I could go out and I could do 20 in a couple of hours, like approaches.
Mm.
In 2018 I wouldn't be able to do that, because you've got to be more careful with where you're approaching. You've also got to be careful with on the trains, on the buses, because it became news over here and it was like frontline, like a lot of girls had put up that sort of resistance, and I just mean that they were some of them were scared. So so when I looked at that video and stuff like that, the bottom line is most guys have adapted. Most guys aren't like that when they go out.
Mm-hmm.
Most guys have realised that, okay, maybe we have to tone it down a bit because that's the way that society's trending just now. It will go back the other way.
Yeah.
See, probably with COVID, I think it's actually going to start going back the other way.
I agree.
You'll actually get more freedom and more space. So,
I agree. Yeah.
Like, it always changes. It always alters, but you've got to keep up with the time. And I think it's starting to alter back the other way again. But if we're going by, like, when I see videos like that and stuff, as we're talking about with the toxic masculinity, I know we touched on it the last time, but there's dark issues with that, and this might be a dark one. It
could be, and and it's like, but you know what? Maybe that's what's necessary. But I don't even think it's really that dark, like, because neither one of us really go down that way. But like, it's like I hear you with that too. It's like, you know what? It's like it is strange times overall, and it's like, so that look, there's like this first thing of like, look, we know that like the Hollywood fucking movie nice guy shit, it's like that isn't real. Like, I think we can all agree on that. Like, that isn't real. There's nothing appealing about that at all. Like, some fucking nice guy, that's not ever going to work. That's not realistic. But I think, so there was this real market for like an RSD or like learning about game and stuff. There was this like desperate need for it, really. Like a desperate need for that. And so like, great for and that's so good. So they came up and filled that need, and that's incredible. And like, so I mean, just to bring it back to this whole thing, like, you know, it was, for me too, it was something that I learned about because it was necessary and great, and it was good to learn that. But anyway, I came across this video of this other dude, this John Lifestyle, and like, I don't know, there was something about his vibe. There was something about his vibe where I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is he on about? Like, it was so much different than a lot of the other shit that I had seen, and it confused me because I was like, what is he on about? Like, I agree that like it's like, look, like, RSD is not perfect. Like Tyler is not like some perfect person. He's just a regular guy that just learned a lot of shit, that worked really hard, and he started a company where he wanted to sell that knowledge, and like, he's running a business. It's like he's running a business that's very heavy on advertising and marketing. Like, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And so, for whatever reason, this other dude, this John dude, like, man, he has all these videos about like, it's just all negativity. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if you looked through it a little bit.
Well, the the thing about that guy is I can't actually remember when I first came across his channel. I think it was probably about the start of this year, but I never really paid attention. But I think in the summer, I think as you're saying, with like, you know how the ads come up.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was his ad or someone else. I think it might have been his though, but like I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. Or someone, oh, actually, I was reading a chat. I remember it now. I was reading a chat about another person's channel, and someone had mentioned the name John Anthony, but they'd said something negative about him, and I thought, oh, like that's a bit interesting. So I think I clicked a couple of videos, and then I thought, okay, that guy's got issues. Yeah, and he shouldn't be a coach, right? And like I like some people would maybe say, right, he should just throw in. I don't think at the stage that he's at in his life right now, he shouldn't be a coach, and I'll tell you why. Because like what he's saying and what he's coaching is totally against what RSD were doing and totally against what we're talking about. Because see, he talks about lay count a lot, right? That's one of his big things, right? See, for a beginner, I don't have an issue with him tracking that, right? Because tracking it to see your progress and just see how you, but as long as you don't become results orientated. But I don't mind you tracking. Okay, like this month, right? I went out to the night, especially if you're doing night game. I went out 4 nights in a row. One of the nights, so I'm maybe pulling a girl back 1 in 4, maybe like so. For a beginner or a novice, I don't have an issue with that. And for intermediates or advanced, if you're the type of guy that's just kind of doing nightclub and you want to just track your progress, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But the way that he's doing it isn't to track progress. There's massive ego involved, and the way that he's thinking of the numbers, he's treating, like, you can just tell he must be treating those women like with a lot of bad vibes, and like it's because like for me, it doesn't that kind of stuff doesn't bother me because I've never been in it for those reasons, right? But even I don't have an issue with guys that do get in it for those reasons, as long as they're legitimate with it and it's more for themselves. They want to just prove to themselves. I feel with him that like all the database and the charts and like the way that he analyzes it to the degree, like that's starting to go in this sort of social path.
I didn't look down at like that deep because I don't like the vibes of it, man. I don't. It's strange, man. It's like we live in such a strange time. It's like, man, there's this real desperate need for like to teach guys about like, like rite of passage, or like, like there's this huge need for it, for like mentorship and teaching guys about how to become like a strong like man on his purpose. Like we need that so desperately. And like RSD came along and kind of filled that void to a degree. And they just happened to focus on actual dating. They just happen to focus on like actual success with women. And that's great and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that is part of it. But it's like strange because there's this whole group of guys who hang out on the fucking inner circles, I guess. And there's this whole group of guys who like, I don't know, they seem to think that they could just like bypass like thousands of years of like evolution and tradition by just like going to a boot camp rant. Like I'll just watch a video and I'll just join the inner circle, and all of a sudden I've transitioned to be like a man on his purpose because I know these little tricks or something. And it's like, it was never about that, man. It's like, it's never about that. Like Tyler doesn't think it's about that. Nobody thinks it's about that. But what's happened is because of all the advertising and because of all the content marketing, everything, and these young guys are so fucking impressionable, and many of them are so dumb and they're so lost and they're already addicted to fucking video games or whatever they're doing, that they're just like, concept of reality is just kind of even more confused in a way. I don't know, and I'm not trying to hate it all on RSD because I think Tyler's a fucking legend. I think what he's done for people is incredible, and he's I think a great fucking man, really. But I'm just trying to shine some light on like what the fuck is going on. Like And then you get the backlash of like this guy who's making huge videos like about how Tyler's like all kinds of random shit, like making fun of Julian's wife and stuff, and like
Yeah.
saying like Tyler's jackets are ugly, and like saying all kinds of shit about Derek. Derek is Wade and Luke's Wade, and it's like, why would you do all that? Like, what is the point of hating on another guy? It's like if you don't like what a guy's doing, that's fine. Just whatever, go somewhere else. Like, it confused me, man.
Oh yeah. Well, the problem is that RSD is always going to get hate because those guys pay good money, right? They pay like some of them on these boot camps pay thousands of dollars,
Oh yeah.
right? And the bottom line is, it's just like anything in life. Like if you look at American football, there's a lot of people that have scholarships and they have big coaches and they put a lot of money into it, but not many people play in the NFL. So like, it's a pyramid system that they can guide you, they can make you better, but it still has to come from you.
Yeah.
You still have to want it bad enough. You still have to go out and push yourself. Most guys don't. So what happens is they think, oh, by paying that money, I'm going to become this, like, I'm going to become Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen because it happens for a few, though. It does happen for a few, yeah. Because, yeah, there's two big things, though. Like, number one, that most guys want to be like the rock star or the total top of the top, and you don't have to be. You just have to be decent.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And what I mean by decent is you just have to be a good standard that you can go on with your life, and like women will just come into.
Yeah, you need to be. Yeah. You just need to be in like that like top 20%. Like that's all. You just need to be above a certain level. And you're good. You're in this section that's going to understand things. You're going to have success, and you're going to get better. And as long as you're below when you're in that other 80%, it's just hopeless. There's nothing. Oh, yeah. You're never going to have any success. So it's like you don't need to be at like the top 1%. It's like you just need to be in the top 20%, man. That's all. And it's like you kind of do need someone to show you how to get into that top 20%, though. And that's where those guys are right. Like RSD's right. It's like, you do kind of need like a coach. You do kind of need a mentor to help you get up there. But it's so weird because like you and I have both met a lot of guys from the inner circle.
Yeah.
And I have just so consistently been totally unimpressed with the guys that I meet there. Like completely unimpressed. It's a total disappointment. They bring nothing to the table. And their whole understanding of things is way fucked up. And so that's another interesting thing. It's like some people that learn about RSD are amazing people. And you just hit it off right away. Like you and I are on a similar wavelength. It's like, cool, boom, we're onto this, let's go. And it's like, so there are some people that get involved and are like become awesome people. Like all the guys from RSD, it's like, those are elite level guys. And they do have the capacity to create more elite level guys. But what seems to come along with that is also just a lot of just chodes. Like I
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like it's strange.
And the funny thing is about it as well that when I'm just thinking back, because we used to have like groups that go out the inner circles and they were all free to go to and stuff like that. I've never paid a penny for RSD, right? I've never put a penny into them at all. I've not done any courses, any boot camps, right? I think you're the same. Like,
I've never actually done anything with them either.
But what I've noticed is the guys that I've been around that have like, been doing some sort of RSD or they've watched the videos or something that haven't paid anything, they seem to be doing better with the whole self-development. It's funny. Whereas the guys that are paying thousands of dollars, they seem to get worse. And my only theory for it is they were in it for the wrong reasons to begin with.
Maybe, right? And it's like, I think you and I, if we had access to Tyler or any of those guys, we'd get way better. Like, if we even had each other to hang out with, we'd just get way better. It's like, I think what happens is there's these guys, and they're the same guys that come out that I meet through the inner circle. It's like, they come out with nothing. And they expect like you to do everything. And I think that's the same guy that then goes to a boot camp. And so I think what ends up happening is like Tyler shows up and there's like 3 or 4 of these guys, the same guys I'm meeting on Inner Circle. And it's like it takes such a huge effort to create any change for that guy, to create any value and progress for that guy. Because it's like you almost get like, you just get like frustrated with these guys. You're just like, when you see what you and I have had to do to create value and to create progress, and it's like, what the hell is this?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like it's just it's sad, but it's just the reality that it is, because and that's how some of these guys become toxic, because what ends up happening is they've had it so bad, but they end up using that in a negative way rather than a positive way, because they maybe have turned it around, but maybe they're just not the 1%. So maybe they're the 10 or the 20%, right? Kind of like you and me, because I don't know what percent we are, but we're definitely not the 1%, right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm in the 20. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the 20. We're both in the 20, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what number, but I'm saying we're both in the 20.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is that, like, I know I can get a lot better.
Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
But like, see, for me now, like, I still want to get better.
Me too. Yeah.
I have so many other activities that I'm doing. I have so many other passions. Yeah. And that's another thing. That's actually another thing.
Yeah.
Those guys are 100% in it, which is good. That's a good. That's,
in a way, yeah.
You have to be.
True, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a time and place when you start getting better and you're at that decent standard. You start toning it down.
That's 100% right. That's a really good point, man. That is a really good point. Like, I absolutely agree with that. There is a period of time where you really should just go all in. Like, and I know I did that. I know you did that. It's like, let's just go hard. I don't care if it takes a year. I don't care if you go out every day for a year. I mean, I went through that period. It's like, sometimes that's what it takes to get progress.
Yeah.
But it's like, after a period, after a while, once you start to grasp a few of the lessons and you're like, oh, okay, and you start to see the bigger picture, it's like, that's when you have to branch out. You have to diversify, because you start to get these lessons like a Russell Brand lesson where it's like, oh, I can never really become whole or satisfied by just meeting more women. Like, it doesn't actually work. It's great. I mean, it's a great part of life. It can be incredible. But it isn't like something that fundamentally like satisfies you like in your deepest soul. It's like that's what you it's like that's why you get like, because if you keep chasing that, it becomes super toxic. It's like a drug. It's like Russell Brand talks about that, how he was a sex addict. It's like, do you think that like Russell Brand could easily get way more women, more,
definitely.
But he doesn't want to, because he knows like that's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah, Russell Brand's like I've got his book. Like, he's one of the ones I was actually reading about when I was getting into this. Even though he's not like he's more natural.
Yeah,
he's more like a natural, right? Because like, his dad really taught him like from a young age and stuff, like when you're reading his story and stuff. So like, he had a lot of abundance just naturally, right?
Yeah.
But what Russell Brand realised is that that's not the type of person he wants to be, because he had a lot more depth, and he's such a smart guy. Like, so he realised he made a change, right? And that's the thing though. Like, it probably took him longer than they wanted. But see, for most of these guys that put in hard effort for a year or two, because not many do.
No.
So like, see the guys that do it, that's amazing in itself. But what happens is, instead of just putting it to sleep and either thinking, okay, I'm going to do the coaching, but even if they're still a coach, they don't have to be like 100. They can still have other activities, because that's just natural part of life. But if they wanted to be a coach, then they would put more effort. But put more effort into the coaching. Like, don't just use the coaching just to get the gratification. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there is this. It becomes like this. It becomes like you just become like saturated in it, and then all you're doing is watching the videos, and everything you're doing is just like on the message boards, and the issue is that there's some guys now that their only understanding of how to become like a man on their purpose in their prime is through dating devices, through game, or just through
Yeah,
RSD. That's their only way. They don't know anything about martial arts. They don't know anything about like spirituality. They don't know anything about like being part of a group or a tribe. They went from like playing Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. They went from being like an absolute introverted chode, hanging out with other chodes, and then they just went from that to all of a sudden, boom, now I'm on the RSD inner circle. Okay, now I have
yeah,
it all figured out. And it's like, it doesn't, and then they go out and they get blown out of the water and they wonder why. And it's like, oh, well, it must be this. It's not Tyler, it's Julian. It's not fucking this, it's this other company. And they get stuck in this weird, like, retarded roundabout that gets them nowhere. And it's like, what the fuck? It's just a strange thing, you know?
yeah. It's strange, and I mean, like, I know I done it the hard way. I even made it harder for myself,
Me
like,
too.
because I ended up going out to like traveling to country I didn't even like. I've only been to once. Like, at the time, I'd only been to America, I think, twice.
Yeah.
So like that's already more difficult. Like, I don't like in ways it was easier, but I think overall it was harder because if I'm not doing good in my own country, I'm not going to do good abroad.
No.
But the one thing that went in my favour though is I put the effort in abroad. Yeah. So maybe it did help because maybe I wouldn't have put that effort in because you always feel that in your home country that you know people and you, like, so I'm saying that was the way that I was thinking at the time. So I always found it harder. But when I went to a country that nobody knows me, I had that. Number one, I prefer the girls, so that I had the motivation to go out. But number two, like because the weather's better, there's no rain and stuff over, and was like I was just I think I just had the good vibes and around good people. So all that helped. But make no mistake, new money, you don't know where you're going. Like that's all hassle that you don't have to have. Like I think you're always better getting to a decent degree in your own country. If you get to that kind of like a 4 to 5 standard, then you can start thinking. At the time, I was kind of 3/4 because I had been going out in Scotland, but not frequently. Like not frequently.
I hear you, man. Like, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, you know, like there is just I don't know, like there's a need for God. There's a quote in I think it's like a psalm or a passage in the Bible. It says, you know, if the young men are not initiated, they will burn down the whole village.
Yeah.
And you know, it's absolutely true. It's like we as a society, it's like you have to show the young men how things work. You have to. Because if you don't, they just spiral out of control and ruin everything. Like a bunch of young guys, like, you know, if you go out and you just see a bunch of guys who are like a bunch of 19 or 20-year-old guys, like 4 or 5 of them, they're all just drinking. None of them really know game. None of them really know what they're doing. They just all got together and had a couple beer. They got their fucking football shirts on, fucking Man United shirt, and their trainers on, and fucking a bunch of them are out. That's like, just nothing good is gonna come of that. It's just retardation. It's just absurdity. It's like, I don't want those fucking guys around me, like being loud and drunk and spilling shit. It's like that's really not worth anything. And girls kind of think the same way. It's like, that's not really doing her any favors. It's like, yeah, she might randomly go home with one of them, or it's a bit of attention, I guess, but it's like, that's not fucking useful. And we need to be able to show guys how it works, like, and really teach them and lead them along. This is better for everyone.
Yeah, because the guys that you're talking about, they get by. They kind of get by, right? They'll get lucky once in a while, right? So those guys they wouldn't really bother about this in general. You'll maybe get the odd one that maybe changes his mindset, but
that's a good point. Yeah.
But most of those guys, I'll bring my charger over in a minute. I've got a plug over here.
Okay, yeah.
It must go down low with the data. Yeah, but I'll keep
Probably.
going. Yeah, most of those guys, like they're maybe at the 4 to 5 kind of out of 10 range, and they've got a good social circle going. So they already kind of meet girls through that, and they'll get lucky once in a while with either one of the girls in their circle or just out in a nightclub or something like that. But what happens is those guys are content, but content's not good in my opinion, right? But if you like, maybe some of those guys like that lifestyle, that's fine, right? But the guys that are 1, 2, 3, even 0, what happens with those guys is they see the 4s and 5s, but they're not in that circle.
Yeah,
they're kind of with the guys that are more introverted, because that's their social circle. So either they've got a small social circle they go out now and then with, but it's all like video games that you're talking about, or they stay in alone and play the video games. And you know, like, I can relate to that to some extent, and I never had it too bad though, because I was quite, like, that's the thing for me. Like, I would say my environment was quite neutral. Like, so I did, like, with my area and stuff like that. I didn't grow up in a good town, but the town wasn't bad either. It was okay. But like, just with Scotland in general, like, people are quite they trend on negative. Like, they're quite negative, maybe not over negative, but the UK is like that. Like, the UK kind of, they don't push themselves in like, so like, if you think of America, that's all positive and all like glass full, like, people in the UK, I think the weather's got to play a part, but people in the UK are always, oh, let's not do that, let's not, like, that's the general mindset. Like,
and it depends the area that you live in, like, because Scotland is less like financially successful than like London or like, right? So you're gonna notice a big, like, where I live in Canada is all the way on the East Coast. There's way less money out here than there is in the West or in Toronto or whatever. So it's like you're always gonna get like a way more like depressed outlook on things, and a way, it's just a general, people are drinking more, people are doing drugs more, people are just doing more kind of low vibration negative shit, of course.
Yeah. I mean, like, your upbringing's a big thing, but that's the thing. I came from a good family though, so I was lucky in that sense that I, like, because I mean, I was a very introverted kid. Like, I was always wanting to just do things on my own. I still do to an extent, like, but that's my natural set point. Like, I like I've just got a lot of depth that I like to, like, maybe learn chess or do kind of activities that are quite creative and stuff. So, like, I didn't get bored as a child. Like, I could play with, like, action figures. And the point I'm trying to make here is that my parents didn't allow me to stay in. Like, they were always pushing me to go out. Like, so like, for me, socializing was something that I had to do. They weren't actually forcing me to go out. They were just, like, very encouraging to, like, and, like, that's quite lucky, because let's say that didn't happen, it would have been a lot harder for me. It still was very difficult, but it would have been even more difficult. So, like, my environment was neutral, and like you're saying, like, with Scotland and then the East Coast of Canada, like, you've got to make the most of where you grow up.
Yeah, you do.
Like, you can't change it.
Because the funny thing too is, like, this is another thing I'd noticed too. It's like those guys who are negative, and those guys who always find a reason. Those guys will always find a reason not to do it. Right? Yeah. And that's the one thing that going out a lot and learning game and stuff really teaches you. It's like, you have to find a way. Like, you've got to find a way. You've got to make it work. It's like, you've got to overcome that obstacle. You have no choice. Like, nobody's going to do it for you. You have to get it done. And that just hammered in for me for so many times. It's like, I just always find a way. It's like, if it's cold out and snowing, that's okay. There's going to be a vibe that you can make do with. You'll be bundled up, and you can make a cool joke about that. Like, if it's raining out, okay, great. Then you can bring an umbrella, and it'll be like some fucking romantic umbrella date. Like, you just have to find this way. And I always hear that in guys, like, oh, blah, 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 there's no one out tonight, or blah, 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 the lineup's too long, or da, da, da. It's like, I can't go out because like, I'm busy that day, or like, I got to meet my friends, or there's always something. And it's like, it's like, I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear
No.
any of that shit at all, dude. Like, and that's the other thing is like, those guys just get more and more isolated. And that's what's so brutal in a way, especially when it comes to a topic like dating, like between men and
Yeah.
women, because like a guy who's like being negative or kind of not producing a lot of value, what ends up happening is he just gets more isolated. He gets treated even worse. Girls ignore him even more. They're even more mean to him. They're even more rude. They're ew, disgusting. And then none of them want to be around him. And then some other girls see him being disrespected and they want to get in on it too. Yeah, he's gross. And I'm not trying to be like I guess I'm not trying to be dark about it, but this just is a component of it, right? And the good news is if you go in the opposite direction, it starts going upwards. If you start doing good, everyone's like, yeah, I like him too. And this is where we need to get you, right? This is where we need to get guys.
Yeah. Like a lot of those guys just are so impatient. Like, impatience is such a terrible thing because, like, you touched on a couple of good points there. Because I mean, those guys aren't willing to put in the work. If they were, like, results don't matter, but they'll get some results.
Yeah.
Like, on average, it depends how bad they are, but on average, and what I mean by results is I don't mean results as in like getting these girls to like actually like make out with them. Or
it doesn't even have to be that.
I just mean results as in growth.
Mm-hmm.
Because like of all the days that I went out and nothing actually happened, like all I done was approach, but like, and I'm talking about maybe I would get the odd phone number if I was lucky, like because it just shows you how far off I was at the time, like, and even at the time I knew I was struggling, but I didn't even think it was that bad. Like I was probably a lot worse than I realised at the time, looking back now. But I still kept with it, and then what ends up happening is because you're doing all these approaches, they're all training.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is some of the greatest dates that I've been on, I haven't been even out approaching. But because I had been out, by the time I get face to face and I'm in a natural process that I'm not really that fussed about it as much. Then it just clicks into place because I've been out socializing every day, like
that right there. What you just said to me, that's the clear indicator that I need to hear from a guy that he's put in some work and he's at least at an intermediate level.
Yeah.
Like if I hear that kind of statement from a guy and I hear him talk with that, I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good here. He's in the game, because that's exactly it. Once you put in the right amount of work, it just ends up spilling over.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, that's just what it's all about. I can remember times I'd go out for 2 hours, I'd collect a bunch of numbers, whatever will happen. I didn't care at all. I was like, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact. I just needed to put in that time just to work that muscle out. And I was like, I don't give a shit at all about that. It'll pay off in another way. I don't give a fuck. Many times I didn't even want to text the fucking girls. I'd come home with a bunch of numbers. I'd be like, I already put the work in. What the fuck do I want? I don't need to do this. But I'd be like, nah, you better, because it's part of the game. Like, but I mean, no, that's very true, man. Very good point.
Yeah. Oh, like I was terrible at texting.
Me too. I suck. We both.
Yeah. It wasn't even the texting that was bad. It was actually just the approach. Like, because that's another thing that. See, the texting, it doesn't matter as much as you think. You could say a terrible text, but see if your approach and the way that you speak to the girl and stuff is on point, she'll get back to you.
And it's mostly just about like knowing where you're at. And I think a lot of times my problem really now looking back with the texting was I misinterpreted where the interaction was at. Like what stage I was at, because when I was there face to face, I could see it clearly and I was like, okay, I know where I'm at. Yep, here, yep, there, boom, exchange, cool. But then when it was gone, and it was like a couple hours later, or it was like the next day, I seemed to have trouble like putting it back into context, and I always seem to like err on the side of like, I'm always erring on the side of like, oh, it's probably at this further along place, and I texted to there, and it's like, no, man, because it wasn't, bro. She forgot about that. And she went back to a more neutral level or something or whatever it is, and you have to now come from there. So I always struggled with that, and yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar to you. Then the only difference is that you're talking about after doing the sessions, you weren't bothered about texting them. I was over bothered about text. I was the op like I
Oh,
was always thinking, oh, I've got to text because I made two key errors. Number one, the length of the sets were so minimal.
mm,
Like I was only doing 3 or 4 minutes.
yeah, me too, me
And
too. Yeah.
I can get away with that more now, but at the time I should have been doing 10 minutes minimum.
Okay,
So like,
okay.
because what I mean by getting away with it now is because what I can get away with it because of the level I'm at.
Yeah,
I can cut corners, whereas back then I couldn't cut corners.
yeah,
So I had to sort of showcase more of who I was as a
yeah,
person.
yeah. I
I
hear you.
didn't enough.
I hear you.
So like I didn't stand out. So like especially the places I was doing it, like LA and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
they're
you
places
were
that
just
girls see loads.
dismissed.
So I'm saying
Yeah.
I just wasn't smart with it. And the second mistake I made is I always took too long to text them back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like that was something that it took me a couple of years to figure out, that you should be texting them right away, like literally like 20, 30 minutes after.
Yeah.
I was texting them 6 hours after if I was lucky.
Okay,
because
because
it wasn't until the next day, and that's a big mistake because then you just become even more forgotten.
yeah,
And that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'll fire in a really quick tip here. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but this was a really key tip that I always use. I can't quite remember who told me this, so I don't have anyone to cite it to. But what I always did was when I'm putting the number in,
Yeah.
of course I get her to put it in. Oh yeah, cool, let's do that. Yeah, just throw your number in. And as she's putting it in, I then say, all right, cool. I'll text you so you know who it is.
Yeah, I done that, but it took me 2 years.
That I'm so lucky. If anyone's watching this and you're hearing this lesson, please implement it all the time and right away. Because I was so lucky. I heard that like really early. So I heard that and I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So I would do that all the time. I would be like, oh, it's me from wherever. And like while we're still talking. And then I would even say like, did you get the text? And then she'd be like, yeah, I got it. Okay, cool. So now you've got that base level. That's a really key tip there that we just gave whoever's watching.
Yeah, well, I got that tip from someone as well. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was the same video.
Yeah.
But it took me 2 years to get that tip, and I wasn't able to figure it out myself, unfortunately, because I always gave my name, but I never gave it right away the way you're talking. Like, so it always, I think I either didn't give my name or she asked who I was, which just made it awkward.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, like, see, I made a lot of mistakes.
Me too.
Yeah. The one thing that I didn't make a mistake on though is I always did text them.
Yeah, me too.
And
yeah,
something that happened, like this was a year. So this was when I came back from America.
Yeah.
Because the texting was going so bad, what I decided to do is I said, okay, instead of texting them, I'm going to phone them.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Right? And that was still quite. I wouldn't say that was a mistake because it either went good or it went bad.
Yeah.
But they usually responded, like, because this was something else I done. I started phoning them at random times. So I started, like, say I was getting up at 5 in the morning. I phoned them at 5 in the morning. So I woke them up from their sleep. Now, I'm not recommending you do that.
Oh, shit.
But it caused a reaction, and sometimes it became a positive because they were angry that I was phoning them at that time.
Yeah.
But that sort of then I realised, wait a minute, I'm phoning them, like, which is a bit rude, like, but like I wouldn't do that now.
That's a really interesting point. Like, it's a pretty ballsy though.
Yeah, well, they always respected it.
Yeah,
that's like, because some of those girls actually came out the night after, like, and I was thinking, okay, I'm doing all these texts. They're not even replying to my texts. Some of these, like, so I was like, right, last ditch, I'll phone. Now, don't get me wrong, that's the success story. Some of the ones that I phoned, I never heard from again.
Me too. Right? So, that's a really, like, I mean, that's a really, like, situational thing, man. Like, I hear you. There is an element of, like, ballsiness to it, which I like, which is just, like, you're sticking right in her mind. You're like, yeah, what's up? What are we doing? And you also can get right to the point right away. You're just like, yeah what's up? okay, cool. Like, what are we doing? What do you want to do? Let's meet up. And you can get her on the phone and get it done. So I like that. Generally speaking, how I feel about like texting and stuff now is like, I think the better just overall game you can have and
Yeah,
and basically just have texting and phone communication. Ideally, it's as like logistical as possible. That's kind of how I
yeah,
feel. It's like as minimal and just logistical as possible. I kind of like that. That's sort of how I see it.
yeah.
And
I see it that way as well
yeah,
because I think we both did. We overcomplicated things,
I did, yeah.
like, and a lot of guys do, and then you just make it harder for yourself. Like the way I think now, and I think the way you're thinking now is how can we do things naturally?
Yeah.
Now I'll never be natural, right? But I became more. So what I mean by that is I would say I'm trending natural tendencies now.
Mm,
But what I mean by that is I'll never be a pure natural in the
mm,
sense of like it's something I've had to learn
mm,
and it's became natural through a process.
mm,
But it's not something that's came to me like sports, for example, where I was
mm,
just natural from the offset.
mm,
That okay, with training it helped, but I was
mm,
already at a good standard without training.
mm.
That wasn't the case for this, and most guys it's not the case. So you got to put the work in.
You got to put. There's no way around it, man. You're gonna have to put the work in. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want, and that's why another reason why I think just all the advertising and everything. It's like take it all with a grain of salt, man. Like, do you think like it's like you're not gonna get around putting the work in. It's like it's fine to watch a video and be like, oh, good, this helped, but you're not gonna change your whole. It's not a nothing's above the process. You're never above the process. So just embrace the process and enjoy it. And
yeah.
so
You,
I mean,
you can still hear me, okay? Yeah.
yeah, it's still all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just put my charger in there because
Okay,
it's going
cool,
down.
man.
Yeah, that's good.
No, you're all
Yeah.
good.
No, no, I get what you're saying. You've got to really put a lot of effort in. You've got to enjoy it as well to the
Hmm.
best you can.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to enjoy every minute,
Nope.
but you can still make the most of the situation.
And like, I think now, like, man, like just over and over again, I think about some of those guys who I met off Inner Circle who came out and stuff. It's like none of those guys stuck with it. Like, and they don't stick with anything in their life. Like, it's just a repulsive thing to think about it. Like, it's anyway.
I mean, like,
Okay, the sound's not working, bro. Oh, no. I'm not sure what the issue is, man. Can you get headphones? Would headphones work? Oh fuck. Okay.
let me think. So it's because it seems to be going down well with the data.
Uh-huh.
Let me try seeing if the Wi-Fi is going to work better. Because then, if the Wi-Fi is working better, it might not go down as quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. Settings. You can still see me, yeah?
I can't see you, no, but you're
Oh,
still.
all right, okay. It might. Okay, the Wi-Fi seems okay just now,
Okay, yeah, cool.
but so it will go down more. But I'll keep it a little bit. Can you hear me now?
No, I can't actually.
Yeah.
All
You,
right.
you can hear me now.
I can hear you, but you only got a few minutes left, or?
Yeah, I took my charger out, so it's down to I think it's down to about 10%.
Oh
But
God.
with the Wi-Fi, it might not go down as quick.
Okay, man. Well, you might have to take a break here. You might have to, because if you only got 10% left,
Yeah,
we have to have this as a trial run or something.
or we can do it in two parts.
Yeah, we could do a two
But
part.
I want to keep going if we can.
Yeah, no,
Just
me
try.
too. Me too. All right.
Let's see.
Can you go low battery mode or something?
I mean, with the Wi-Fi, with like So it's still going down, but not as quick.
All right, cool. Let's just talk.
But I don't think it's going to last, but like the percentage it's at.
I might try. I might. One time I did a video with a guy, and he, there was a part he was like, "Oh, can you delete that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I actually figured out how to do it, so maybe I'll go back through this video and just make a couple little cuts and just get rid of some of this stuff if I can.
Yeah, and just edit it. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Okay, I had a few things written down here. Why don't we?
I mean, I've got another option that if you're mostly talking for the next like 10 minutes or so, I can just kind of pop the charger out in between.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'll go over a couple of things here, and as I'm talking, you get it charged, okay? And then after a bit, you come back.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
All right, so go.
If it goes up to about 25 or so, then I should be good for the
rest.
All
right, so go ahead and chuck it on the charger there, and I'll fire off a few things.
So that's being.
All right. So yeah. What did I have here? Yeah, most of it we talked about, but part of it too is like I remember this coming across this a lot when I was going out and stuff. It's like all these guys, like all the RSD instructors and stuff. Like, here's the thing: it's like they're just regular guys, man. They're just regular people, and it reminds me about how like guys who are really into sports, guys who are just like big, they just watch sports all the time, and they're just like big fans. Like their whole life is just watching sports. Like a lot of the time, what you find with these guys is like they're big time haters. Like they'll be sitting there hating on like Ronaldo, be like, Ronaldo sucks. He's shitty, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, here's like an elite level athlete who's like trained his entire life to be at like the peak of his game. He's winning championships and making like hundreds of millions of dollars with his endorsements and everything. He's got like hot women, successful guy who's just doing what he wants to do in life. And it's like someone who's a fan. It's like these guys think that they just have the ability to just like hate on someone. Yeah, Ronaldo sucks. And sometimes I feel the same about guys with like RSD. It's like they just replaced like Ronaldo with Tyler. And now they're just like, nah, Tyler's this and blah, blah, Julian that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys are missing the point. Like you're all screwed up. And I would see that like when I would go out and had some of these inner circle guys with me. And it's like they would never like accept accountability for themselves. Like they would never do it. It's like they never understood like, dude, I'm just like you are. We're the exact same. It's just that I keep going. I keep trying. I keep putting the work in and you don't. You just fucking complain. You just want to gossip and blah blah blah. And they'd act like going out and they'd be like, oh, it's easy for you. Oh, that was easy. I'd be like, it's because you don't pay attention that it's like, you don't see how it's not easy for me. That's the point. It isn't easy for me. It's just as hard. And it's like, it's like, bro, you don't realize that this past two interactions, this interaction that happened an hour ago is still affecting me. It's like, God, if only why didn't I just get the number like this? Or, damn it, I should have talked to the girl like around like this, but instead I did this, and then her friend came, and I'm like, fuck. And now I'm having to still carry on with my night and be like, oh, hey, do this. And it's like, they don't realize that each interaction's hard. I can remember going out and it was like having to tell one guy, I'm like, bro, you don't realize that interaction that happened 2 weeks ago, you don't realize that I'm still like, oh, fuck, and then that girl didn't come out, or she came out once, and then it screwed up, and then plus this other girl that came out last night, I'm not sure if that was right, and even a girl that I've been seeing for 3 months, now she's not coming out, and blah, 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 and da. And it's like, these guys don't have any concept of that, because they're not really living the lifestyle, and they're not really behaving like that, and it's just, like, frustrating. So, I don't know, whatever you think about some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it out, yeah.
What I think about that is I totally You can hear me yet?
No, I can't. No.
No. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So it must. I think when I put my charger in, the volume was down. Anyway, it seems okay now. Yeah, they're not seeing the big picture.
Yeah.
They're not seeing that by putting in the work and effort, things start to go up in the rise. You start to get momentum. You start to realise your mistakes, and it's like we always go back to. It's just like with anything. Like if you play the guitar once a week, or you play the guitar 7 times a week, you're going to be better than the guy that plays it 7 times. Like you put in, like what you put in is what you get out of things.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing as well that you were talking about, that you were talking about there, about comparison. Like comparison's a big thing. Like with beginners, like I know I had a bit of that. I wasn't too bad. I still had a bit though. But everybody starts at a different starting point. Like the guy that starts with 0, it could take him years to just get decent. Whereas a guy could come in and it could take him a couple of months to get decent. A guy could come in and he's already decent. Like everybody starts at different levels.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true, man. Like, yeah, man. No, it's everybody's different, and I don't know. I haven't really gotten together with guys in a while because. Here was another point I wanted to make was, sometimes it's like, hey, like maybe people don't understand that part of why Tyler and those guys put so much effort into like making those videos and making that you have to pay and all this stuff is like, think about how frustrated Tyler must have been of dealing with these fucking inner circle chodes for decades. Like guys that just won't do it. They won't listen. They blame someone else. And he has to put up with this week after week after weekend after night after night. And it's like, I get sick of that after just a couple guys in the inner circle. You see the same thing every time. Guys who they don't want to pay. They want you to do everything. Show me. Do it. I don't have any money. I'll spend my money on drugs and alcohol and strippers, but I don't want to pay you, and blah, blah, blah. And so part of what Tyler had to do was like, he had to make it so clear to these guys, so clear and so simple that their stupid little chode brains could fucking figure it out. Like, that's part of it too, so I can understand where he's coming from.
I'll have to take it out and everything. Yeah. I don't know why that is, because you would think with a charger it would just stay the same, the volume, but it must be a little blocky. No, like that's the thing. Tyler must be sick of it, like, because those guys just complain all the time. Like, and the problem is that they give up so easily.
Yeah.
And so they either give up and then they'll try and get back into it like a year or two later, which is good that they do that, but they've really wasted 2 years. Like, or they just don't get back into it altogether. And then it becomes a negative because then they failed. And the reason that they failed was because they failed themselves. Because, like, there's no guarantees in life. Like, a guy could be in this for 5 years and not get anything, not get the things that he wants or anywhere close. That's rare, though. That's very rare.
But it does take time, and it is hard, and it is slow, and it could easily take you a couple of years, man. Like, I did it for a couple of years, and like, there were times when I felt like, God, like, is it even doing anything? Like, am I even getting anywhere? Like,
yeah, I'm the same with you. It really took me 2.5 years, but it would have probably only took me a year if I'd actually, because that's the thing. I didn't even put the effort I should have been putting in at the beginning. Like, it took me a while to realise, okay, there's two things happening. Either I'm terrible, which I never thought I was terrible, because I could tell with the way that things were going, I wasn't as bad as some of the guys, right? So always, and then the second thing as well. The second thing, I just realised as well that if I'm going to be serious about this, I have to really put maximum effort and really treat this like real life training.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned. I'm sure I said this before, but I can remember when the first time I ever went out to meet the guys from the inner circle. I had already been going out for like a year, at least. And the first time I ever went out to meet the guys from the inner circle, I was absolutely convinced that they were all like friends with Tyler and Julian, and that they all were like magical wizards and experts, and I thought for sure that was the case, and like that they all had like businesses they were running and like coaching businesses and all kinds of stuff, and like I still remember that, and I went and met up, and there was like 5 other guys there, and it was me, and it was like even after I met them, I still was like, oh well, we're just talking now, but geez, once we leave, these guys are probably gonna like blow me away, and I was like, okay, I guess, and the instant we got out of the door of where we met somewhere first, the instant we got outside, boom, I was just on the ball. Boom, what's up? Boom, da-da-da, 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 just on the game, because that was my mentality. And I can still remember, I don't know if I told this before, and looking over at one of the guys who came out, and his face was like almost white. He was like he couldn't believe it. Like it just like shocked him like to his core. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, man, yeah, let's do this, man. Like it was just like shit, it just like shocked his whole fucking being. It was bananas. These guys had like never ever even been out. They were just utter beginners, like just total newbies, like had only watched the videos. And here I was, had already been going at this in the trenches for like a year or more, or a year and a half, and just like shattered these guys' fucking realities.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah. No, like, I mean, I've really got similar experience with going out to these circles, because like most of the guys were lower than what I was, and I was no hero.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was no hero, bro. I was like, at that point, I was like a 3.5, bro.
Yeah. I probably I went out like 2 years into it, so I was kind of getting to the 5 stage, right?
Yeah, maybe a 4. Maybe I was a 4.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe but I was nowhere. Like I was just getting by. Basically, I was decent enough that I didn't have to put the work that I'd been putting in.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, like some of these guys, like, and they always talk a good game, though.
Oh yeah.
Because like I don't know if you're thinking. Like from what you've described, it sounds similar to me, that like you meet up, you go to a bar first, and then you'll chat for like an hour.
Yeah.
And then you go out.
Yeah.
And some of those guys, like I could quickly tell they're not that good, right? But I thought, okay, maybe they're about a 4 or 5 or even right? But they still talk as if they know the basics, right? But when they actually go to the clubs, like. I mean, one guy didn't even bring his passport, so he couldn't get in the club, right? He looked young, so he wasn't going to get in without a passport. But then another guy was just drinking lots, and all he was doing was dancing. He did, right? And then and then some of these guys were looking at me, and because I'm doing like boom, 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 going in, like.
Can't hear you, bro.
I'll take it out.
Yeah.
But the battery is going quite low, so
okay.
I'll be quick. We're back in. Yeah, what I was saying is some of these guys were looking at me and thinking, okay, he's not just started, right? And I'd been in it for a couple of years, but these guys had been in it for a couple of years. And here's the funny part: some of these guys had been in it for 6 years, 7 years.
But they haven't though. That's what guys say. Like guys will say that it's like they'll say like, well, 6 years ago I joined the inner circle. 6 years ago I watched a video. I subscribed to RSD Tyler's channel. But they haven't done anything though. And
No.
once you see this over and over again, it just shows you like it almost for me, that's kind of when I stopped even really watching much videos. I totally stopped. I was like, oh, nothing against Tyler, but those guys, but it's like unless I'm hanging out with them, it's like I don't really want like I don't need to be watching this shit right now. Like you need to get out and it's like I was better off spending time just like sitting in a park or sitting at a beach because at least then I was just like experiencing nature or I was spending time like reading books on spirituality because it's like I don't want to be more like these stupid inner circle chodes. It's like I don't know. I guess what we're saying here overall is like much respect to RSD. Huge respect to RSD. Huge appreciation. Anyone who's out there who's hating on them, unless it's from like unless you have like real, I don't know, because other guys with real success, I don't think they're really hating on RSD. They're just like, oh, some of their I don't quite agree with all of it, but whatever. It's one way to do it. But like, it's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The thing is, like when I look at those mentors, like Max was always the big mentor for me.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a year older, so he was a similar age.
Yeah.
Like his background sounded similar, so I just resonated with Max.
Yeah.
Like, but guy, I still watched Tyler. I still knew he was the sort of chairman of the thing. And I still watched a couple of the other instructors. Trying to think who else. Like, obviously Julian. Like,
yeah.
So, and you still learn things off of those, but for the most part, Max was the one that I was starting to watch, and then I branched out to different places that weren't RSD and stuff like that, and ended on my reach, right? But the bottom line is, there's a reason why a couple of years after Tyler started the whole company, that he started having guys jump up and down like nursery children, because that's because there's a lot of theory guys that complain about that, but what Tyler realised is the majority of the guys that are coming to boot camp don't even know how to jump up and down properly. Like, I don't like. I think you've seen those videos where like everybody's got to yell really out loud and then jump and you might think that's not going to improve that person, but it actually is, because it's to get them in state, to get their motivation up, because those guys aren't ticking those boxes. So Tyler thought, I've got to even bring this back a step.
You do? Oh yeah. You have to bring it so back. I was to the point where I would tell guys like, you have to brush your teeth, bro.
Yeah.
You got to brush your teeth. You have to. And the guys would come out and I'd be like, did you do it? He'd be like, no, I didn't. That's not, I'd be like, dude, like, I would just tell them such basic things that they wouldn't do. I'd be like, bring some money in like $5 bills just so you can pay quickly. The next day they'd come out, I'd be like, did you do it? No. And that's just over and over and over. I'd be like, so just do this. I'm gonna go right over here and come back and do it. Like, okay, did you open? Did you talk? No, I didn't. And it's like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, so I see where Tyler's coming from. He has to get these big, like, jump up and down, yell. Okay, and that's what you got to do, man. So big props to him, man. He knows what's up. He's running a business, and he's putting Tony Robbins type shit in there. Whatever he needs to do, man. I can't hear you.
Right. Okay. You should be able to hear me now.
I can, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why that's happening. It must just be a bad. Because the connection's fine. Must just be with the charger. You can hear me now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ronaldo, that was a good person you brought up, because let's say Ronaldo was right, because if Ronaldo
No, I can't hear you, man.
I'll just take it out. It's just that, like, the charger doesn't seem to be going up that much, but when I'm taking it out, so it's kind of, I'm at 4% just now.
Okay, I
Yeah,
mean, if you want, we can stop it and you can recharge it, and I'll try to cut the video up a bit, and then you can charge it, and we'll come back and finish or something because um
yeah, yeah. Maybe do that then, because like we'll probably go for like another hour or so,
just
wouldn't
go
we?
charge it for like 20 minutes, okay? And
Yeah,
while we're break,
yeah,
I'll use the editing thing and I'll cut this up a bit, and then we'll carry on.
yeah. That's cool.
Just
So
plug it in
what
for
time? So 5:30.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
1:30
1:30.
your time.
Yeah, yeah,
1:30 your time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you then.
Okay, man. Yeah. See you then.
Okay,
Take
cool.
it.